Have you ever wondered what truly makes some people age gracefully, while others struggle with the challenges of growing older? Imagine unlocking the 10 essential skills that 99% of people over 70 find difficult to maintain. Skills that can transform your life and keep your spirit vibrant and strong. In this video, you'll discover the profound wisdom of Don Mateo, a 75-year-old man who defies the typical limitations of age through his dedication, mindset, and deep connections. Stay with us until the end, and you'll uncover Don Mateo's great secret, a simple yet powerful approach that can revolutionize the way you live your remaining years. Whether you're approaching your golden years or supporting a loved one, this video offers invaluable insights to help you live a loyal, independent, and joyful life. Don't miss out on the key lessons that could change your perspective on aging forever. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. Discover the extraordinary power of these life-changing skills and why they are so crucial, especially as we journey into our later years. It's not just about adding years to your life, but about adding life to your years, defying the limitations that age often imposes on us. Imagine a life where each day holds meaning, purpose, and joy, no matter your age. Picture yourself embracing aging with a sense of wonder rather than dread. Today, you'll embark on a transformative path that can completely alter the way you perceive aging and its challenges. But before we dive into these life-changing lessons, I ask you to stop for a moment and reflect on the story of Don Mateo. His story is not just a lesson, it's a profound revelation that can entirely shift how you face the trials and limitations that life presents, especially after reaching the age of 70. In a quiet, serene village nestled in a lush valley, surrounded by green hills that seemed to touch the sky, lived a man who was anything but ordinary. His name was Don Mateo, and at 75 years old, he radiated a sense of peace, wisdom, and vitality that was unmatched. And you could feel the tranquility in his presence. His face, weathered by time and the sun, carried the gentle marks of a life fully lived, a life filled with hard work, nature, and deep reflection. For many in the village, Don Mateo was a source of inspiration, a beacon of light in a world that often associates aging with decline and frailty. They affectionately called him the sage of the fields, and it was easy to see why. Don Mateo wasn't a man who lived a life of luxury or ease. Quite the opposite. He had spent his entire life working the land, plowing fields, planting crops, and harvesting the fruits of his labor. His hands were strong and calloused, evidence of years spent communing with the earth. Yet, despite the physical toll his work had taken, Don Mateo seemed to move through life with an ease that others found hard to comprehend. At an age where most men are confined by the limitations of their bodies, facing the inevitable struggles that come with aging, Don Mateo seemed almost ageless, his spirit undimmed, his energy boundless. It was as though the years had gifted him something that the rest of the world had yet to understand. What was it that made him so different? How did he manage to defy the very limitations that plague so many as they grow older? It wasn't in some secret elixir or a life of leisure. No, Don Mateo's secret was something far more profound, far more accessible. His secret was in how he faced life. He didn't avoid challenges or shrink in the face of adversity. Instead, he welcomed them, embraced them even. Every single morning, long before the rest of the village stirred from their slumber, Don Mateo would rise with the dawn. He would stand at the door of his humble home, watching the sun slowly rise over the horizon, and greet the new day with a quiet, knowing smile. He saw each day as a gift, an opportunity to live fully, to work with his hands and his heart, and to connect with the world around him. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Whether he was planting seeds in the early morning dew or harvesting crops under the golden afternoon sun, Don Mateo's movements were always filled with a sense of purpose. There was a joy in his work, a rhythm that he had cultivated over a lifetime of embracing nature's seasons. He was never in a rush, never hurried, and yet his work was always done with precision and care. It was as though time slowed down for him, allowing him to live in each moment fully, savoring the experience of life itself. One day, a young man from the village, troubled by the thought of aging and the inevitable decline that comes with it, approached Don Mateo. He couldn't understand how Don Mateo seemed to maintain so much joy and energy when everyone else's age was struggling just to get by. "How do you do it?" the young man asked, his voice filled with both curiosity and desperation. "How do you stay so full of life when others are so burdened by the weight of old age?" Don Mateo paused for a moment, his wise eyes twinkling with the light of 1,000 lessons learned. With a serene smile, he began to share a story, one that his father had passed down to him many years ago. His father, like Don Mateo, had aged with grace and strength, and it was from him that Don Mateo had learned the most valuable lesson of his life. "My father," Don Mateo began, "always told me that the true secret to a full life lies not only in how well you take care of your body, but in how you choose to face each new day. Life," he said, "is like the fields we tend. You must plant your seeds carefully, nurture the land, and work with love. But just as important, you must learn to accept whatever nature gives you. There will be seasons when the wind strips the leaves from the trees and the rains don't come when you expect them. But instead of fighting the wind, you must learn to move with it. Find joy in each season, even the difficult ones." It was a lesson rooted in deep wisdom, a philosophy that echoed the principles of Stoicism. Don Mateo understood that life was about more than just maintaining physical strength. It was about cultivating a mind and spirit that could weather the storms, could remain calm and grateful, even in the face of adversity. His father had taught him that true vitality came from within, from the attitude you choose to carry with you, from the way you greet each new challenge as an opportunity to grow. And that's exactly what Don Mateo did every single day. He approached life with an unwavering sense of peace and purpose, and the courage to face life's challenges head-on. Don Mateo showed that growing older doesn't have to mean growing weaker. He proved that even as the body ages, the mind and spirit can continue to thrive if only we nurture them. He was living proof that the limitations of aging can be defied not through resistance or denial, but through acceptance, gratitude, and a steadfast commitment to living fully in every moment. Now, it's your turn to learn from Don Mateo's wisdom. Like him, you too can cultivate these principles in your own life, defying the constraints that aging so often brings. Let's dive deeper into the first 3 essential skills that 99% of people over 70 can no longer perform, skills that Don Mateo not only maintained but mastered. And these aren't just physical skills, they are the pillars of a life filled with purpose, joy, and fulfillment, even in old age. Are you ready to embrace this new way of living? To see aging not as a decline, but as an opportunity for growth, learning, and deeper connection. Let's begin this journey together, learning from Don Mateo's timeless wisdom, and discover how you too can live a life of vitality, resilience, and unshakable peace. 1. Maintaining physical independence. As the years advance, the first skill that many people over 70 tend to lose is their physical independence, whether it's walking long distances, standing up without assistance, or even performing simple daily tasks like getting dressed or preparing a meal. The loss of mobility is a painful reality that touches the lives of so many elderly individuals, leaving them feeling frustrated, dependent, and often defeated. But Don Mateo, he stands as a powerful exception to this trend. At 75, while many of his peers rely on walkers or the support of others, Don Mateo continues to work his beloved land every single day with a strength and endurance that seem almost miraculous. So what's his secret? How does this remarkable man manage to maintain his physical independence when so many others his age struggle? It's not because he's trying to keep a body as strong as a young person's. Don Mateo isn't chasing youth, nor is he living in denial of his age. Instead, he practices something far more powerful and meaningful: consistency. Day after day, no matter the weather or how he feels, Don Mateo makes it a point to keep his body in motion. He doesn't allow himself to become stagnant, and that's the key to his vitality. So not just about the hard labor of farming, either Don Mateo incorporates gentle stretching exercises into his routine, ensuring his muscles stay flexible and his joints limber. He pairs this movement with a balanced, nourishing diet that fuels his body, treating it with the respect and care it deserves, rather than the relentless exploitation of youth. This consistency is at the heart of how he maintains his independence. And here's where the wisdom of Stoicism weaves its way into Don Mateo's life. It's the philosophy of accepting the body's natural limitations, yet having the courage to push through those limitations without surrendering to them. Don Mateo doesn't rage against the aging process, he embraces it with grace. He knows that aging brings challenges, but he meets them head-on with a quiet strength, a stoic acceptance of what is, and a daily commitment to rise above what could hold him back. Now think about your own life for a moment. Do you keep your body moving every day? Are you nurturing it in a way that will serve you in the years to come? Or have you already started to let small limitations chip away at your independence? Now is the time to make those small, yet powerful, changes. You don't need to run marathons or lift heavy weights, but you do need to commit your body to honor it with movement, with care, and with the same quiet strength that Don Mateo embodies. It's in these daily actions that you, too, can preserve your independence and freedom, allowing yourself to age with dignity, strength, and resilience. The journey to maintaining physical independence doesn't have to be daunting. It can start with the smallest steps. A few stretches in the morning, a daily walk, or even a shift in how you think about your body. With consistency, patience, and respect for your body's natural rhythms, you can continue to live with the same self-reliance and vitality that Don Mateo has shown. Let his story be a reminder that aging isn't the end of your strength. It's an opportunity to cultivate a deeper, more meaningful relationship with your body, one that will carry you through the years with grace and purpose. 2. Accepting change without resistance. The second skill that often slips away from people as they age is something much more emotional, yet equally vital: the ability to accept change without resistance. Change is a constant in life, but as we grow older, it becomes more difficult to embrace. We resist changes in our bodies, our abilities, our relationships, and even in the world around us. The fear of losing what we once had, the vitality, the independence, the strength, can be overwhelming, even paralyzing. Many find themselves clinging to the past, trying to hold on to a version of themselves that no longer exists. But this resistance, this refusal to adapt, only leads to more suffering. Don Mateo, however, offers us a different path. He has mastered the art of accepting change with grace. His life, in many ways, is a reflection of the Stoic philosophy. He quietly embodies a philosophy that teaches us that resisting change is futile and only brings unnecessary pain. At 75, Don Mateo is fully aware of the transformations his body has undergone and the limitations that have crept in over time. But instead of fighting against these changes, instead of mourning what he can no longer do, he chooses to accept them. He adapts his life accordingly, embracing the challenges of each new day with the same calm and open heart that he has always carried. To Don Mateo, change is not something to be feared or resisted. It's simply a part of life's natural flow. He knows that every stage of life brings its lessons and opportunities. Over the years, Don Mateo has experienced the inevitable changes that come with aging. His body doesn't move as quickly as it once did. His hands, once unyielding, have softened with time. His circle of friends has grown smaller, and his roles within the community have shifted. But through all of these changes, he has never once allowed himself to be consumed by regret or bitterness. Instead, he has embraced each new chapter of his life with quiet resilience, finding peace in the things he can still do and letting go of what he cannot. This mindset is the key to his remarkable ability to remain content and fulfilled as he ages. Don Mateo doesn't waste time lamenting the things he's lost. He doesn't dwell on the past or wish for the days when he was younger, stronger, or faster. Instead, he focuses on what's in front of him, on what he can still accomplish, on the relationships he still cherishes, and on the small joys that each day brings. By letting go of his resistance to change, Don Mateo has discovered a kind of freedom that many of us never will. Change is no longer his enemy, it has become his ally. And this is where we can learn from him. Think about your own life for a moment. Are there changes you're resisting? Are there parts of your life that you're holding onto so tightly that it's causing you more pain than peace? It's natural to fear change as part of our human condition, to want things to stay as they are, especially when they're comfortable or familiar. But when we resist the inevitable, we only create more suffering for ourselves. Don Mateo teaches us that by accepting what we cannot change, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. We stop fighting against the current, instead learn to flow with it. This doesn't mean we have to like every change or feel good about it right away, but it does mean recognizing that change is a part of life and necessary, sometimes difficult, but ultimately transformative part of life. The truth is, there is great strength in accepting change and adapting to what life throws our way. When we stop resisting, we allow ourselves to heal, to grow, and to discover new aspects of ourselves that we might have otherwise overlooked. Don Mateo's ability to accept change with grace isn't just a skill he's developed over time. It's a way of living that brings him peace, joy, and a sense of freedom that so many of us long for. So, now it's time to ask yourself, are you resisting change in your life? Are you holding on to something that no longer serves you, out of fear or nostalgia? It's worth reflecting on what you can gain by letting go of that resistance, by accepting the inevitable shifts in your life and seeing them not as losses, but as opportunities for growth. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment below to let me know that you are still here with me. Don Mateo's story reminds us that change, though often difficult, is not something to fear. It's something to embrace, something that can open doors we never knew existed. When we stop fighting against what we cannot control, we make space for new joys, new strengths, and new freedoms. What might you discover if you let go of resistance and welcome change with open arms? The answer could transform your life, just as it has for Don Mateo. 3. Maintaining intellectual curiosity. The third skill that, unfortunately, 99% of people over 70 loses intellectual curiosity. For many, the flame of curiosity begins to flicker as they age, often fading into the belief that they've already learned all there is to know, or that their time for discoveries is past. So many elderly people resign themselves to a life of routine, where learning takes a backseat and the thirst for new knowledge evaporates. But Don Mateo, he is a beacon of what it means to be a lifelong student, someone who never lets his mind become stagnant. Despite never having had the privilege of formal education, Don Mateo's curiosity about the world remains as vibrant and alive as it was in his youth. He has spent years cultivating his mind, knowing that intellectual curiosity is the key to keeping the brain young, alert, and full of life. His interests are wide-ranging, from reading books on the latest agricultural techniques to exploring the wisdom of ancient philosophies like Stoicism, which has deeply shaped his way of living. Every day, Don Mateo approaches the world with fresh eyes, eager to learn something new. To him, each sunrise represents another opportunity to grow, to stretch his mind, and to challenge his understanding of the world. It's this unquenchable thirst for knowledge that gives Don Mateo a vitality that many his age have long since lost. While others might say, "I've seen it all," or "There's nothing new for me," Don Mateo wakes up each day with the belief that there is always more to discover. This mindset isn't just about acquiring facts, it's about nurturing a spirit of wonder and excitement. For him, learning is not a task or obligation. It's a way of keeping life interesting, a way of staying connected to the world. Stoicism teaches that we should never stop learning, and that each day offers new lessons, whether they are intellectual, emotional, or spiritual. For Don Mateo, this philosophy is deeply ingrained. His commitment to learning is what keeps his mind sharp and his heart open to new experiences. It's what allows him to continue seeing life as a series of opportunities rather than limitations. And think about it, how many times have you told yourself that you're too old to learn something new, or that you've already learned enough? We often forget that learning isn't just for the young, it's for everyone, at every stage of life. As we age, the act of learning becomes even more crucial. It keeps our minds flexible and prevents us from falling into mental rigidity. Don Mateo's life serves as a reminder that it's never too late to awaken that curiosity, and that intellectual growth doesn't stop just because the years have passed. But he's still seeking to learn new things. When was the last time you picked up a book or took an interest in a subject you knew little about? If it's been a while, let Don Mateo's example inspire you to rekindle that spark of curiosity. Whether it's exploring a new hobby, learning a new language, or simply asking more questions about the world around you, now is the perfect time to remind yourself that your brain has no expiration date. Your mind, just like Don Mateo's, can remain curious and vibrant no matter how many years have passed. These first 3 skills, maintaining physical independence, accepting change without resistance, and cultivating intellectual curiosity, are only the beginning. Don Mateo is living proof that it is possible to hold on to these essential qualities even as the years advance. But there's so much more to his story. The lessons he has learned, the challenges he has faced, and the wisdom he has gained have shaped him into the man he is today. His life has not always been easy or simple. On the contrary, it's been filled with obstacles, moments of doubt, and hardships that could have easily broken his spirit. A few years ago, Don Mateo faced one of the greatest challenges of his life, a disease that attacked his joints and began to limit his ability to work the land, which had been his passion and livelihood for so many years. His hands, which had once been so strong and capable, started to fail him. With every passing day, he felt the growing pain and stiffness, and the simple act of lifting a tool became increasingly difficult. What had once been effortless was now a struggle. The doctor warned him that he would likely have to accept that his days of working the land were over. Many in his position would have fallen into despair, resigning themselves to a life of helplessness and dependency. But for Don Mateo, this was where the true learning began. Rather than giving up, he turned to the philosophy he had embraced in his youth, Stoicism. He couldn't control the disease, but he knew he could control how he responded to it. Instead of letting pain dictate his life, he chose to adapt. He learned to accept his limitations without resistance and found new ways to work with his body instead of against it. Don Mateo began using lighter tools and gentler techniques in the field, allowing him to continue his work without overwhelming his joints. Most importantly, he changed his mindset. Instead of fighting the inevitable, he chose to embrace it. This shift in perspective, so aligned with Stoic teachings, allowed him to not only maintain his independence, but to find a new way to enjoy life. What could have been a source of deep frustration became an opportunity for growth. Don Mateo's emotional strength grew as he learned to focus on what he could do rather than dwelling on what he had lost. His practice of daily gratitude became his anchor. Every morning he would find something to be thankful for: the breeze through the trees, the sound of birdsong, the laughter of the village children. These small moments of joy reminded him that while his body might be changing, his spirit remained strong. And as his physical abilities became more limited, Don Mateo discovered yet another lesson: the importance of finding new ways to contribute. Although he could no longer work the land with the same intensity, he became a mentor to the younger villagers, sharing his wisdom and experience with those who sought his guidance. In doing so, Don Mateo found a renewed sense of purpose. He was no longer just a farmer, he had become a teacher, a guide for the next generation. His life took on new meaning, and his legacy grew stronger as he passed on the knowledge he had gathered over a lifetime. Don Mateo's story shows us that old age doesn't have to be a time of loss. On the contrary, it can be a time of growth, adaptation, and contribution. His journey through pain, acceptance, and learning teaches us that even in the face of adversity, we can continue to thrive. The challenges he faced didn't break him. They shaped him into the wise and resilient man he is today. As we move forward, we'll explore the next 3 skills that people over 70 often lose. Skills that go beyond the body and into the mind, heart, and soul. Stay with us on this journey, and let Don Mateo's wisdom inspire you to live your life with the same grace, strength, and curiosity that has guided him through the years. 4. Maintaining a growth mindset. As we age, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we've seen it all, done it all, and learned everything there is to know. This mindset is especially common among the elderly, where the belief that you can't teach an old dog new tricks becomes more of a self-imposed barrier than a reality. But the truth is, there is always something new to learn. Growth never stops, no matter how many years have passed. Don Mateo is living proof of this. Unlike so many of his peers, Don Mateo never succumbed to the belief that his capacity for growth had diminished with age. In fact, despite his advancing years, he continued to nurture what psychologists call a growth mindset, the idea that no matter how old you are, there is always room for improvement, for learning, for new experiences. To Don Mateo, life was an ongoing journey of discovery. He saw every day as an opportunity to broaden his horizons, gain new insights, and deepen his understanding of the world around him. Even when his hands could no longer grasp a book as they once did, he didn't stop learning. He simply adapted. He turned to audiobooks and podcasts, absorbing wisdom through listening, and remained eager to share new ideas with the younger generations. While many elderly people close themselves off to new experiences, convinced that their learning years are behind them, Don Mateo did the exact opposite. He embraced change and continued to grow, mentally and spiritually. This ability to maintain a growth mindset, this openness to learning and evolving, is one of the defining characteristics that separates those who age gracefully from those who merely endure old age. The sad reality is that 99% of people over 70 lose this ability. They convince themselves that their time for learning has passed, and that their role in the world is one of passive observation rather than active participation. And in doing so, they limit not only their personal growth but also their enjoyment of life. But Don Mateo teaches us something important. The mind never ages unless we let it. Just because our bodies grow older doesn't mean our minds have to follow suit. By maintaining a growth mindset, we can keep our minds young, curious, and vibrant. Don Mateo's passion for learning didn't just keep his intellect sharp. It also gave him a sense of purpose, a reason to wake up each morning with excitement. He knew that life had endless lessons to offer, and he was always ready to receive them. The Stoics believed that life is a constant journey of self-improvement, and Don Mateo embodied this philosophy. For him, age was not a barrier to learning, but an invitation to dive deeper into the mysteries of life. He never saw himself as finished or complete. There was always more to understand, more to explore. This is the essence of a growth mindset, the belief that no matter how old we get, we are never done growing. Why, think about your own life for a moment. Have you convinced yourself that your learning days are over? Do you believe that because you've reached a certain age, you've experienced everything there is to experience? If so, it might be time to reconsider. Ask yourself, what could I learn today? What new experience could I embrace that might challenge my understanding of the world or deepen my wisdom? A growth mindset doesn't just keep your brain young, it keeps your spirit alive. It's the fuel that drives us forward, regardless of how many years we've lived. Don Mateo's story is a powerful reminder that there is always room for growth, no matter our age. His commitment to learning, adapting, and growing is what allowed him to age with grace and joy. He never stopped seeking, never stopped questioning, and never stopped believing that life had more to offer him. This mindset is what differentiates those who thrive in their later years from those who merely survive. So, what about you? Are you still open to learning new things? Are you willing to embrace new experiences, even if they feel unfamiliar or uncomfortable? It's never too late to awaken that spark of curiosity, to challenge yourself to grow in ways you never imagined. A growth mindset isn't just about keeping your brain active. It's about keeping your life active, about remaining engaged with the world in a meaningful and purposeful way. Don Mateo may have faced the challenges of aging, but he never let those challenges define him. His mind remained open, his spirit remained curious, and his heart remained young. And through his commitment to growth, he found a kind of vitality that many people lose long before their bodies start to slow down. By maintaining a growth mindset, you too can continue to find joy, purpose, and fulfillment in every stage of life. Remember, the journey of life doesn't end when we reach a certain age. It continues, full of possibilities for as long as we allow it to. Let Don Mateo's story inspire you to keep learning, keep growing, and keep living with the same sense of wonder and excitement that carried him through his days. After all, it's not just the years in our lives that matter, it's the life in our years. And with a growth mindset, we can make every single one of them count. 5. Cultivating deep connections. As we grow older, it's all too common for people to distance themselves from others, either due to life's changing circumstances or the misguided belief that relationships no longer hold the same significance. Whether through the loss of loved ones, changes in physical ability, or the perception that friendships are meant for the younger years, many find themselves drifting into isolation. But Don Mateo understood something that many forget. The key to a rich, fulfilling life lies in the connections we cultivate with others, no matter our age. He knew that deep, meaningful relationships are what sustain us emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, offering a source of joy and purpose that no other achievement can match. While many of his contemporaries withdrew from social circles, choosing to live in isolation or limiting their interactions, Don Mateo made it a priority to maintain his close circle of friends. But he didn't stop there. He actively sought out new connections, always keeping his heart and mind open to the possibility of forming bonds with others. His life was full of conversation and companionship, whether it was sharing stories and wisdom with the village's elderly or engaging in lively discussions with the youth. For Don Mateo, the energy and fresh perspectives he gained from talking to the younger generation were just as valuable as the shared memories and reflections he enjoyed with those his age. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. These deep connections weren't just about avoiding loneliness, they were the spark that kept him feeling alive. His relationships gave him a sense of belonging and purpose, reminding him that he was still an integral part of his community, no matter his age. Through his connections, Don Mateo found a source of emotional nourishment that kept his spirit strong, even as his body aged. A common mistake among those over 70 is allowing their relationships to wither away, believing that their social life has reached its peak and that it's too late to forge new connections. This loss of connection can lead to feelings of isolation, depression, and a deep sense of loneliness that, over time, eats away at a person's sense of purpose. But as Don Mateo's life teaches us, relationships are what keeps us truly alive. It's not just about being surrounded by people or engaging in shallow pleasantries. It's about cultivating genuine, soul-nourishing relationships that remind us of our value and purpose. Don Mateo knew that building deep connections requires effort, but he also understood that the reward was worth far more than the energy it took. Every time he sat down to talk with a friend, offered advice to the village youth, or simply shared a cup of tea with a neighbor, he was enriching not only their lives but his own. From these moments of connection kept him engaged with the world, reminding him that even in old age, he had something valuable to offer and something valuable to gain. For Don Mateo, relationships weren't something that expired with age. He believed that every person we meet holds the potential for a meaningful connection, no matter how old or young they are. And by fostering those connections, he was able to maintain a sense of purpose and fulfillment that many people lose as they age. His life was proof that it's never too late to form new bonds, to build relationships that enrich your life and the lives of others. Think about your relationships for a moment. Have you allowed certain connections to fade? Do you feel disconnected from the people around you? It's those relationships that keep our hearts full and our spirits vibrant, reminding us that no matter how many years we've lived, we are never alone. Stoic philosophy that Don Mateo lived by teaches us that we are social beings by nature. We thrive in the company of others and gain strength from our relationships. The world around us may change and our bodies may age, but the need for connection remains as important as ever. As we age, it becomes even more crucial. Genuine connections give us the strength to face life's challenges with grace and courage. They remind us that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. Don Mateo's life serves as a testament to the power of relationships that go beyond small talk or polite conversation. The depth of his connections gave him a sense of purpose that kept him going, even on the most difficult days. Whether it was sharing wisdom, listening to the hopes and dreams of the younger generation, or simply being present for a friend in need, Don Mateo knew that these moments were the true essence of life. Are you fostering those deep connections in your own life? If not, it's time to reach out to an old friend, a family member, or even someone new. It's time to remember that relationships are not just something we need when we're young. They are the threads that weave meaning and purpose into every stage of life. The lesson is clear: as we age, we must not let our relationships fall by the wayside. We must nurture them, invest in them, and be willing to form new ones. These connections are what keep us grounded and remind us that no matter how old we are never truly alone. Don Mateo's life inspire you to cultivate those deep connections that enrich not only your own life, but the lives of everyone around you. The bonds you form today can be the foundation of a life filled with love, joy, and purpose, no matter how many years you've lived. 6. Finding joy in small pleasures. As we rush through the earlier stages of life, caught up in the demands of work, family, and personal aspirations, it's easy to overlook the small pleasures that surround us each day. The singing of birds at dawn, the smell of fresh coffee brewing, the way the sun gently warms your skin on a cool morning. These moments often go unnoticed, overshadowed by the fast-paced demands of youth. However, as we age, we begin to slow down, and with that slowing comes an opportunity, a chance to rediscover the beauty in life's simplest joys. Sadly, 99% of people over 70 lose this ability. They get lost in the monotony of routine or consumed by the aches of their bodies, focusing more on what they've lost than what remains. But Don Mateo was different. He never stopped finding joy in the little things. In fact, for him, these small pleasures were essential, lifelines to a deep sense of contentment and peace. Sure, many of his peers focused on their declining physical strength or dwindling independence. Don Mateo chose to turn his attention to the things he could still experience fully, the subtle, everyday gifts that life offers. And every morning before starting his day of work on the land, Don Mateo would sit quietly on his porch, watching the horizon. The silence, the soft rustle of the trees in the breeze, the distant sounds of the village waking up, all of it filled with a profound sense of peace. And he didn't need anything more in those moments. He simply enjoyed the present, embracing the quiet beauty of the world around him. It's easy to let our worries, body aches, or fears about the future cloud these moments of peace. It's easy to become so consumed by what we can no longer do that we forget to appreciate what we can still enjoy. But Don Mateo reminds us that life is full of these small moments of beauty if only we take the time to notice them. The truth is, this simple practice of finding joy in the little things is a skill, and one that many lose as they age. However, those who, like Don Mateo, can keep this practice alive are the ones who truly continue to live vibrantly, meaningfully, and with gratitude. The life that continues to find joy in small pleasures is a life that remains connected to the essence of what it means to be human. When we pause to savor the present moment, whether it's the sound of laughter, the feel of rain on our skin, or the warmth of loved one's touch, we remind ourselves that happiness isn't always found in big achievements or grand adventures. Sometimes it's found in the stillness, in the everyday miracles that surround us. These small pleasures help us stay grounded. They give us a reason to smile, to breathe deeply, and to feel connected to the world, even when we might be struggling with other aspects of aging. Don Mateo's daily practice of appreciating the beauty around him gave him a sense of purpose and fulfillment that many of his peers had lost. His ability to savor life's simple moments is a lesson for all of us, no matter our age. When combined with the 3 other essential skills we've discussed, maintaining a growth mindset, cultivating deep connections, and finding joy in small pleasures, we begin to see just how much life still has to offer, even as we age. Two people deprive themselves of these gifts, believing that they are no longer within reach, or that they've already experienced all that life has to offer. But as Don Mateo shows us, there's always a way to live fully, if we are willing to adjust our perspective and apply the principles of Stoic wisdom to our lives. But what truly set Don Mateo apart wasn't just his wisdom, his ability to appreciate life, or his connection with others. It was something deeper. Throughout his life, Don Mateo had cultivated a profound understanding of a skill so essential, so transformative, that it drew people to him from across the village. Even the youth, who typically looked to their elders with impatience or indifference, came to him seeking advice. Everyone wanted to know how he had managed to stay so vital, so serene, and so wise, despite the years weighing on his shoulders. And here lies the great secret. Don Mateo always had one skill, one piece of wisdom that most people over 70 have either forgotten or never truly learned. But he did not share it with just anyone. Only those who were truly ready, those who had shown perseverance and a genuine desire to change their lives, or worthy of hearing what he called the great secret. So this secret was not about physical routines, diets, or even health advice that doctors typically provide. No, it was something much deeper, something so profound that, once understood, it had the power to completely transform the way a person faced old age and every challenge life presented. The mystery of Don Mateo's secret became something of a legend in the village. The young people knew he possessed a unique knowledge, something beyond what they could grasp in their fast-paced lives. Some believed his secret was connected to the tranquility that seemed to radiate from him. Others thought it had to do with his deep connection to nature or his uncanny ability to adapt to any situation without complaint. But Don Mateo, with his enigmatic smile, never revealed it to just anyone. He was patient, waiting for the right moment and the right question. Many tried to approach him with vague or superficial curiosity, hoping for a quick answer or a simple fix to their problems. And to them, Don Mateo would gently say, "You're not ready yet." But some returned, those who came back again and again, facing their struggles with courage and humility, showed a true desire for wisdom and growth. And for them, Don Mateo had something special, a teaching that could change the course of their lives. Now, while not everyone was ready to hear Don Mateo's great secret, I assure you that in just a moment, I will share it with you. This secret, once you apply it to your life, will change your perspective on what it means to age, to live mindfully, and to face each day with purpose. But before we reveal this great wisdom, there are 4 more essential skills that people over 70 tend to lose, and it is within these last points that the core of Don Mateo's message truly lies. These skills aren't just physical actions, they are mental and emotional practices and attitudes toward life that many lose with age. But those who hold on to them, as Don Mateo did, are the ones who continue to live fully, no matter how many years pass. So let us now move forward, uncovering the remaining skills that Don Mateo mastered, skills that, if applied, can transform the way we face life's challenges and age with grace, strength, and wisdom. 7. Adapting to changes without fear. As the years go by, it becomes impossible to ignore the fact that the world is constantly shifting. Technology is evolving at a breakneck pace. Customs that once seemed unshakable are fading away, and the ways of life that many of us grew up with are becoming almost unrecognizable. For many people over 70, these changes can feel like an overwhelming tidal wave, something to be feared and resisted. It's not uncommon for them to cling tightly to the past, where things felt simpler, more familiar, and safer. The present, with all its new demands, can seem too confusing, too fast-paced, and too foreign to navigate. The fear of the unknown becomes a wall, trapping them in a world that no longer exists. But then there are people like Don Mateo. He is the embodiment of serenity in the face of change, a beacon of wisdom and calm in a world that never stops evolving. While so many of his peers grow frustrated or anxious at the thought of learning something new, whether it's using a smartphone or adapting to new social norms, Don Mateo approaches it all with curiosity and grace. He doesn't fight change, he flows with it. He often says, with a deep sense of peace in his voice, change is the only constant, and life is a continuous flow of experiences. Resisting it will only lead to suffering. There is something so profoundly moving about Don Mateo's approach. Instead of letting fear control him, he embraces the unknown with open arms. He understands that every change, no matter how intimidating it may seem at first, is an opportunity for growth, a chance to add new richness to life. His words resonate deeply, don't they? They remind us that the true source of suffering isn't change itself, it's our refusal to accept it. Watching Don Mateo reminds me that we all have a choice. We can either get stuck in the quicksand of fear and resistance, or we can learn to ride the waves of life with courage, curiosity, and an open heart. In a world where so many are overwhelmed by what's new, Don Mateo stands as a powerful reminder that age is not a barrier to learning, adapting, or finding peace. Instead, it's an opportunity to approach life with the wisdom that only comes from experience and the courage to welcome whatever comes next. 8. Staying physically active at a functional level. As we grow older, it's not just the passing of time we feel, it's the gradual loss of physical independence that can weigh so heavily on our hearts. For many people over 70, the once simple acts of daily life, bending down to pick something up, carrying a bag of groceries, or even walking a short distance become painful, exhausting battles. This slow erosion of strength and mobility is one of the hardest realities to face. Losing the ability to move freely, to rely on your own body without fear of pain or fatigue, can feel like losing a vital part of yourself. It's no wonder that so many people feel frustration and sorrow as their physical abilities diminish. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 4 below to let me know that you are still here with me. But then there's Don Mateo, a man who has always embraced the quiet power of staying active in the simplest, most functional ways. He never chased after extreme fitness routines or pushed his body beyond its limits. Instead, he made a daily commitment to keep moving, to remain in tune with his body's natural rhythms. Every morning, without fail, he would take a walk through the fields, letting the fresh air fill his lungs and the steady movement of his legs remind him of life's pulse. He would spend time in his small garden, tending to the earth, bending, lifting, and stretching not as a form of exercise, but as a way of staying connected to the world around him and to the vitality within himself. What makes Don Mateo's approach so beautiful is that it's not about intensity, but about consistency. He never allowed his body to fall into the trap of inactivity, knowing that even the smallest movement can make a profound difference. As he so wisely put it, your body is like a field. If you leave it unused, it will soon become overgrown with weeds. But if you take care of it a little each day, it will always remain fertile. Those words hold such emotional truth, don't they? There's something deeply reassuring about the idea that we don't need to push ourselves to the brink to stay healthy as we age. We just need to care for our bodies a little each day, nurturing them with movement, just as we would tend to a garden. And like a garden, our bodies will reward us with continued vitality if we give them the attention they deserve. Watching Don Mateo reminds me of the simple joys of movement, of feeling your muscles stretch, your joints bend, and your body responds to the world. It's not about running marathons or lifting heavy weights. It's about keeping the flame of life alive through steady, gentle effort. His way of living shows us that staying active doesn't have to be daunting. It can be a source of joy, a daily reminder that, no matter our age, we are still capable, still alive, and still growing. 9. Not depending on external validation. How often do we see elderly people longing for approval, yearning for recognition from their children, family, or even strangers? It's a heartbreaking reality that so many people over 70 find themselves feeling invisible, as if they no longer matter, because they don't receive the same attention they once did. They wait for their opinions to be heard, for their presence to be acknowledged, and when that validation doesn't come, they begin to question their worth. It's as though their self-esteem slowly slips away, dependent entirely on how others perceive them. This need for external approval can become a heavy burden, and it's painful to watch so many elders struggle with feelings of insignificance. But then there's Don Mateo, a man who never let the opinions of others dictate his self-worth. Despite living in a small, tight-knit village where everyone knew each other's business, he refused to live his life seeking validation from those around him. Don Mateo had a quiet, unshakable confidence that came from within, a confidence that didn't waver based on whether or not others praised him or sought his advice. So life is too short to live it through others' eyes, he would say, with a wisdom that cut straight to the heart. He understood something profound. The only approval he ever truly needed was his own. There's something so liberating, so emotionally powerful about that realization. Don Mateo freed himself from the exhausting cycle of seeking approval from others. He didn't wait for someone to tell him he was valuable, important, or loved. He carried those truths within himself, and that inner peace radiated through everything he did. Watching him live with such self-assurance, I can't help but feel deeply moved. In a world that often measures worth by the attention we receive, Don Mateo showed that true freedom comes from knowing your value, regardless of how others see you. It's a lesson that resonates on such a deep level. So many of us, no matter our age, fall into the trap of living for external validation. We seek approval in likes, comments, compliments, and other fleeting forms of recognition. But Don Mateo's life reminds us that this pursuit is a never-ending chase. The real gift we can give ourselves is the ability to stand firm in our approval, to know that we are enough, whether or not the world tells us so. Each day, Don Mateo woke up with the quiet knowledge that he was living his life on his terms. with no need for others to validate his existence. That self-reliance, that inner strength, is perhaps the greatest gift he gave himself, and it's a gift we could all benefit from embracing. His words linger in my mind. Life is too short to live it through others' eyes. How much richer, how much more fulfilling could our lives be if we learned to live for ourselves, not for the approval of others? It's a powerful reminder that the most important opinion about our worth will always be our own. 10. Keeping meaningful relationships alive. As we grow older, it's not uncommon for people to slowly pull away from their once vibrant social circles. Friendships that were once so close begin to fade. Loved ones move away or become distant, and little by little, a quiet loneliness begins to creep in. For many over 70, isolation can feel inevitable, like an inescapable part of aging. But does it have to be this way? Don Mateo didn't think so. He had seen what loneliness can do to the human spirit, how it can devour joy, energy, and a sense of purpose. Yet even in his advanced years, he refused to let his relationships wither away. He knew that meaningful connections were the lifeblood of emotional well-being, and he fought to keep them alive. Through whether it was a deep conversation with his children, a chat with a neighbor over a cup of tea, or simply offering a listening ear to someone who traveled from afar, seeking his wisdom, Don Mateo never stopped tending to his relationships. He compared them to the fire in a hearth. If you don't feed the fire, he would say, it slowly burns out. For him, it didn't matter if the interactions were grand or small. What mattered was the simple act of keeping that fire burning. The soul, Don Mateo believed, withers in isolation. Sharing moments with others, even the smallest of them, is what breathes meaning into our lives. Without those connections, we lose a vital part of ourselves. But Don Mateo was not like most. He had something special, a rare wisdom that allowed him to face life with a resilience that set him apart from the rest. He approached life with a stoic mindset, adapting to whatever came his way, staying physically active, relying on his inner sense of worth, and above all, nurturing the relationships that mattered. This made him stand out in a world where so many retreat into themselves with age. But what truly made him exceptional wasn't just his habits or his wisdom. It was a secret that allowed him to live a life of purpose and satisfaction, while others slowly succumbed to isolation and decline. The truth is, the wisdom of age isn't about how many days you live, it's about how you live them. The Mateo story is a powerful reminder that aging doesn't have to be a slow surrender to weakness or resignation. His life is proof that with the right mindset, a hunger for learning, and the determination not to settle into complacency, it's possible to continue thriving, even as the years pass. Don Mateo didn't allow society's expectations of old age to define him. He broke the mold. So while others grew afraid of inactivity and withdrew from the world, he kept evolving. He showed us that true strength doesn't reside in physical power, but in the resilience of the mind and spirit. And if you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 5 below to let me know that you're still here with me. Don Mateo's life was a constant flow of movement, learning, self-love, and connection with others. And if he could do it, so can you. His story is not just a lesson for those who have reached 70, but for all of us no matter our age. Old age doesn't just arrive one day, out of nowhere. It is something we build every day through the decisions we make, the actions we take, and the ones we choose not to. How are you preparing for your future? Or are you letting fear hold you back? Are you sinking into the comfort of routine? Or are you facing life with the courage and wisdom that Dame Mateo demonstrated? In the end, it's not about how many years you live, but how you live those years. And now, as promised, let's uncover Don Mateo's secret. What was it that allowed him to remain so full of life, so vital, even when others around him gave up? His secret wasn't some elusive, complex formula or a miracle cure. No, Don Mateo's secret was simplicity. He understood that life is made up of small, daily decisions that shape the way we age. Every morning, he chose to care for his body, not to compete or push himself, but simply to be able to get out of bed without pain. Every day, he chose to learn something new, not to impress anyone, but to keep his mind sharp and curious. Every day, he chose to surround himself with people who brought him peace, not to avoid loneliness, but to nurture his spirit. His secret was to live each day as if it were a gift, without complaints, without resentment, and with a deep, a budding gratitude for whatever life offered him, whether big or small. Don Mateo understood that true youth doesn't come from the body. It comes from the spirit. And as long as his spirit remained vibrant, he would never truly grow old. This, my friends, is the heart of Don Mateo's wisdom: to live with intention, to care for yourself, and to keep the fire of relationships alive. Because in the end, it's not the years that define us, it's the way we live them. As we come to the end of Don Mateo's incredible journey, I want to take a moment to reflect on the wisdom he has shared with us. His life was a powerful reminder that age is not a barrier, but an opportunity to continue growing, learning, and nurturing the things that matter most. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What have you learned from Don Mateo's story? What is one piece of wisdom that truly resonated with you, and how will you apply it to your own life? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's inspire one another to live more intentionally, with gratitude and a commitment to lifelong growth. And if you liked this video, don't forget to leave your comment below, give it a thumbs up, and share it with others who might find Don Mateo's wisdom just as meaningful. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on more inspiring content like this. Thank you for watching.